As you know, Super Mario Galaxy's soundtrack is fantastic. And that is because of the incredible work of Mahito Yakota. Yakota's work is known well on the internet, and you can find other people talking about him, but not as in-depth as I'm about to talk about him, because I am the leading Yakota scholar. I've listened to pretty much everything he's done, and over many years I've taken pride in my ability to go back to it every year and find something new in it, because it's such incredible music, and it never ceases to amaze. There's always something new that I learn from it. It's incredible how ornate every little piece and feature of these pieces are. Today we're going to be starting not with a very easy piece of music. This is the Galaxy Reactor. The Galaxy Reactor starts with a very standard progression, the flat 6, flat 7, 1, which is predominant, dominant, tonic. And then we get this tonic pedal, right? And over this tonic pedal, we get some really interesting harmony. So we kind of start off on 1. We go to our natural 2 chord, and then to our flat 2 chord. And our flat 2 is our dominant in this case. You see, this chord that would traditionally be seen as a 5 of 5 is really used as a predominant function 2 chord in this context. And then we get this. That's really interesting because that sounds like it could almost resolve to here, right? So what's going on there? Well, we have 2 contexts. We have E flat minor, we have A flat minor. So in E flat minor, it's like flat 2 and then like 5 of flat 2 and then back to 1. But in A flat, it's different. It's flat 6, flat 7, and then 5. And then it would go to A flat minor if it was going to resolve there. But it doesn't. It does this. Just goes back to E flat minor, which is really interesting. So it has dominant function, but of the wrong key, but of A flat minor instead of E flat minor. But it goes back to E flat minor anyway. And keep this in mind because he's going to use the same exact trick later. So yeah, you have this A flat minor progression. And as you can see, all of these chords really fit into A flat minor better than they fit into E flat minor. In E flat minor, there's like the 1 chord of E flat minor, but there's also flat 2, which as you can see is on the absolute opposite side of the circle. So it's really far away from our major primary chords. And if you look back at the chords in A flat, there's nothing at the bottom. So it seems like this progression fits better into A flat than it does into E flat, which is why we hear it in A flat. As you can see, in order to get this progression in A flat, you need to borrow from this one relative relation. But in terms of the E flat, you need to borrow this relative relation, this parallel relation, and a second relative relation to get to that flat 2. So that's why our ears want to hear it in A flat minor instead of E flat minor. Moving on, we have this progression, which is sort of tonicizing 4, but we don't go to 4. After that, it just repeats. This is a weird thing that's going on. The stuff in E flat, like if we look at this tonicization in E flat, we have a dominant function progression that goes to a tonic function chord. But if we look at an A flat, we have a predominant function, a dominant function, then it wants to go here, right? I just played it two very subtly different ways to bring attention to those contexts like that. And that's really interesting. We kind of have two functional things going on at the same time. And that creates a weird cadence, right? What cadence do we have here? Well, in E flat, it would have been a PAC, and in A flat, it would have been a half cadence. So we don't really know. It's kind of both at the same time, which is amazing, but it's even more amazing that it works in context. Yeah, you got this weird thing where the one chord has a secondary function of a dominant chord. Because of the context that it's being used. So it's kind of like there's a dominant function one chord. Tell that to your theory professor. Well, they know about 5/4, right? It's pretty much 5/4. But then 5/4 just goes back to 1. Here's the second line. And isn't that so pretty? Let me play the pretty part again. Isn't that such a great movement? The 1 to 6. That modal contrast is the stuff that made me become a music theorist. I love that stuff. So we have a 1 chord that moves to 6. And that's a common progression in Japanese music. We've seen that before on the channel. It usually means isochronously shifting mode, but in this case, it's a double tonicization. It's in fact this double tonicization that keeps coming up on my channel, so I added it to the chart. Finally. Well, this 2-5-1 of 5 is the solution to this. We have the 2. That's our 5. 1 of 5. And then he puts the 7 on there to make it another dominant chord. Now that we've tonicized 5, he doesn't go to 5. He just goes to flat 6 of 1. Right in this next section. This is kind of cool. He's got like a Lydian thing going on the C flat. And then he does the same thing on the next one. Yeah, this is a very Nintendo sounding thing to do. It reminds me of like Yoo-Hoo Mountain in Superstar Saga. That's what it's making me think of. And it's just like flat 6, flat 7, you know? And then we get a slide progression. So what is a slide? A slide is a really, really new term to music theory. It comes from Neo-Riemannian theory, but I'm not going to talk about it like a Neo-Riemannian theorist. I'm going to talk about it like someone who likes Japanese music. So in Japanese music, the most common usage of the slide is with this double retardation. I know, not a very good term, but it's called a double retardation. Do you hear that? Do you hear how there's like these two notes that resolve upward? Na, 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 na. So those two notes going up is the double retardation, and that happens in this case. Right? And why would you use that double retardation? Well, this is what it would sound like without it. You get that parallel fifth. So if you use the double retardation, you don't have to deal with the parallel fifth. It completely gets rid of it, right? Contrapuntally. And as a result, this is a really, really common way to deal with a slide progression in Japanese music. They don't like that perfect fifth, which is ironic because, you know, all of these things are progressions that have perfect fifths in them, yet in this case, we're trying to avoid it. You know, Japanese music is very... there's a duality to it. They like progressions with perfect fifths in them, but they will avoid perfect fifths where they can. They're sometimes classical and they're sometimes not. It really depends on their mood and the context. The cool thing about the slide progression is that what function is it? Yes. Like, there's no way to tell because, like, if I was to play all of these Roman numerals in C, you could tell that it really, you don't know what it is. So this is C minor, right? Right, you got flat 6, 6. With the double retardation, which is like a predominant chord going to a tonic function chord. That would be rather ambiguous, right? You could go flat 2 to 2. And that would be a dominant function chord going to a predominant, which would be regressive. That's it with the double retardation. And then you have also flat 3 going to 3. Which this is like a tonic function chord going to a dominant function. So what function is it? Yes. Really, you could use this in any context. That's sort of the beauty of the slide. It's not beholden to one function. It kind of does everything, which is why it's a very fun progression. And I mean, listen how pretty that is. I'm not resolving the double retardation, so it sounds like really extended tertian harmony. But if I do... That's very fun. Yeah, so this is really going to be dominant function in this case, because we have the... And so that feels like 6. And then he does this thing. Right? No, no, no. That just feels like flat 7-1, right? Or minor 5. And now we're in F. Sorta. We're really in C. Because this is a predominant-dominant chain. But it's not a normal predominant-dominant chain. It's a predominant-dominant chain with a predominant pedal. What does that mean? I'm going to play without the pedal first. Wow, that's so boring. I'm going to play it with the pedal. That's amazing. I love that. And then it's going to resolve here, right? No, it doesn't. This happens. That's really bizarre. What did he even do there? Well, this progression, which sounds like this. Is actually the same exact progression as this one at the beginning. So we can just fill it in the same way. Now, let me go into why this is the same progression. So we have if you remember at the beginning we had versus in this case he goes to a minor 1 chord instead of a major 1 chord, which is like minor 5 of 4. So this feels more final, right? If we do the one from the beginning, you could still maybe go to A flat if you do the one from the beginning like that, right? But he doesn't. He goes to a minor 1 this time, which feels sort of somber. And he makes this really sort of ambiguous minor 9 chord. I don't know. I'm sort of voicing it in a specific way where there's no third. I think that's what Yakota does in this case. So I wanted to bring back the rule of 3. It's been a while since we did a rule of 3, and this piece has an interesting one. This middle section, right? This is like very much so a modal gesture. That's like some sort of minor. That's like Lydian. That's like Phrygian. And then back to like some minor, like Aeolian or whatever. And then in the second half, we have this. Those little chord things are about the Lydianness of the phrase. Now, these things that are poorly drawn over here are double tonicizations. And these double tonicizations make up, the piece at the end and also these secondary pieces, right? And also, and and then finally, we have minor third grid motion. Wait, what's minor third grid motion? This is the minor third grid. And on the minor third grid is a bunch of chords going up. We have chords like 2, like 3, like 4, like 5, like flat 6, like flat 7, like flat 1, like flat 2, like 2, 3, 4, 5, flat 6, 7. You've definitely heard this before somewhere in the past, because this is the mechanism by which predominant-dominant chains are created. So these two chords at the beginning, right, kind of fit onto the minor third grid here, and then these chords in the predominant-dominant chain fit here. So we have this whole movement all the way up like that. But wait, something's wrong here, because this is a 2 chord. A 2 chord should be a 2 chord, but I wrote 4 here. So something is really screwed up. Well, you remember that this is a predominant-dominant chain with a pedal underneath it? Well, these are the chords that would have been here if it didn't have the pedal. You know this blue pedal right here with an arrow in blue pointing to the blue pedal? If I was to take that pedal out again, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. So remember how I always say that the underlying progression is the most important thing? Well, this is the underlying progression. So I put this progression here, which is what we saw on our chart, the 2, 3, 4, 5 progression on the minor third grid. This chord equates to this chord. I'm equivocating these 2 chords right here. This chord would equate to here, but I don't think it's functioning as a 4 in context. I think it's still functioning as a flat 6 with a predominant pedal, if that makes any sense. This 2 chord would be here, and maybe you can circle both of them. I'd be okay with that if you circled both of them, perhaps. It's interesting that there's a minor third between these 2 chords, and there's a minor third between these 2 chords too. That's because these are identical contexts. Like I said before, the reason why I'm not calling it a 2 chord, even though I called it a 2 chord on the chord chart, is because I think that it's a 4 chord with a 2 in the bass, rather than just a 4 chord, or just a 2 chord. So that's it for the Galaxy Reactor. There will be a lot more Super Mario Galaxy in the future. Super Mario Galaxy is a series that's very important to my research, and I have a bunch of examples in it from my thesis. So expect more Mario Galaxy, but I do like to have a little bit of variety on my channel, so I'll try to not do it for a while, and then we'll come back to it and do more Mario Galaxy. But if you want to see more Mario Galaxy, just stick around. It will happen. And that's about it for now. All this footage that you've been seeing is from like a no commentary channel. And like the last no commentary channel video that I used, this guy writes like a entire thing in the description explaining everything that's going on. It's way over the top and way more energy and work than is necessary. And also the quality of the video is also very nice. So I recommend that channel. It's very pure gameplay, and I think that's what he tries to do. Well, this video took way longer than I wanted it to. I'm starting to understand what I got myself into with this line of work. But if you enjoyed this sort of stuff, I do want to keep making more videos in the future, hopefully every 2 weeks if I can get them out on time. But this was a lot of fun working on this piece and analyzing it for you all. On my Ko-Fi, there you can buy all the chord charts that I use on my show and have them on your iReal Pro if you have it. Go buy it if you do buy it, and I do update it over time so you can re-download it. If you can't re-download it, just email me and I'll send you it. With some proof of purchase. I'm not just gonna email it to you if you email me. I'm not that bad of a businessman. But yeah, by the way, I have a Ko-Fi. Go donate to it. Well, that's it. I'll see you next time, like 2 weeks from now, hopefully. Good evening.